Are we living in a simulation? Well, maybe I have dealt with this topic before, but, well, apparently people are still in doubt, or, well, probably they're looking for others to confirm what they want to believe in. See, the point is realizing the answer to this question, as I said, is a realization. You don't have to come up to a mental conclusion because the mind can give you any possible idea. And without a certain level of stability within, without a level of perception of certain things beyond your existence, your mere five senses, you will easily tend to believe what someone else tells you because you have been programmed since childhood that whatever someone else says is logical, more or less, but it will definitely make more sense than you or any idea that you can come up with. Because we live in a sick society who programs you to always bow down before others, to always listen to the others because they are always right and you are not. See, in this sick society, in this sick world, so many bozos have come up with all sorts of ideas. The idea was living in a simulation was something that was presented even by uh, older populations, let's say, people in the past. But it was a codified way of transmitting you a message. They were not talking to you about a simulation, a matrix, a prison that was built around you in order to keep you as a slave. See, you never have slaves because people will only be slaves of their own ego. When someone calling themselves a master or a mistress presides over some people, they are still slaves of their own ego because only a weak person would wish to live on above others. Because now, once you live above others and, well, you have to take care of those, you now require a lot more responsibility as well because you have to take care of their necessities. Otherwise, they will simply rebel against you. Being a master over others is also dangerous in a way because, see, only stupid people typically want to be masters. Stupid people are always suspicious, so they're always gonna be worrying about everything else that can happen other than those who are submitted to them. See, in this sick society, the idea of living in this matrix, in this prison, only refer to the fact that you're living in the prison of your own mind. Because there, your thoughts, your opinions, and especially the opinions of others that you have acquired, in the end, everything in the mind you acquired from the others. When you are born, your brain, your mind actually, your mind was what we call the mind, was fully empty. You didn't have any attachment towards anyone. You were just a pure piece of life who was very happy. But, well, the adults around you definitely wanted to make sure they will police you and, arrange you like a suitable brick in the wall of this sick society. Because it is, unfortunately, the background history of a lot of people, especially the more sensitive ones, who were born in families that couldn't care much other than just trying to fit in this sick system that never wanted them in the first place. And obviously, it doesn't want you also. This idea of the prison is only, the so called Matrix is only a prison of the mind, just like it was called in the movie with the same name, The Matrix. It is a prison that you cannot see, you cannot smell, you cannot hear. Why? Because the prison doesn't exist out there in space or surrounding the planet in a cosmic field, a void field, or whatever goofy things some people might tell you. It's not about that. It's all about sphere created within you, like a protective bubble that people create around their mind when they lose their hope. I've been saying before that typically you will lose everything in life once you lose hope, once you give up your hope. Because through that, you give up your inner child, you give up your patience, and after that, well, there's literally nothing more left. You're gonna give up everything that is your uniqueness, or in short, everything that this world needed the most. This world doesn't need more drones. It doesn't need more fools who are stuck into their mind, who gave up their hope, and who live like slaves to service anyone else's agenda because they're craving the little bit of attention that their social being desires. Because even though those beings, those creatures looking like humans, seem to have been raised in a laboratory, given how stupid they are, from politicians, well, most of them, or many of those, not all, or any other so called celebrity presented by this sick society. They're all people paid to just say all sorts of nonsense, and typically they are brought there not for their brains, but for their being easily manipulable, for them giving everything they have to this sick society. Why? To numb everyone else down. A sick society will always seek to police others and will seek to create um, a police state, right? Or, well, it will nonetheless end up into an authoritarian regime. Why? Because everything that you see outside is obviously nothing else but a reflection of what you see inside. People have given up hope. Obviously, in time, they will become masochists or sadists, narcissists, whatever of these scummy behaviors. So they will want to terraform the whole society into their own vision. What is their own vision? Well, they don't know anything else but the pain they have been experiencing, they have been subjected to, the pains that they have embraced and opened themselves to. And as narcissism goes, or, well, as misery goes, better said, it is always better that you impose even more misery on the others, at least more misery upon others than you are suffering from, to make others suffer more than at least you are suffering. Because this is how misery functions. Once a lot of people suffer from this, a society will become more and more sick, because a sick society is nothing else but the sum of its deviants and how they function in between, right? What plans they follow, what agendas they follow. Sick societies typically end up as death cults. So, well, more or less, authoritarian regimes are nothing else but death cults as well. So, when we think about all of these details, a society, a sick society, becomes a so called prison. And let's say us humans feel that we live on a prison planet, mostly because we have been living in our own prison walls of the mind, which we created by accepting other people's limitations. Those are their limitations, not yours for the taking. That is their fucking punishment for being stupid, for giving up their hope. Because when you give up your hope, your innocence, your inner child, well, only misery will be your guide, and its only purpose is to crush you out of your comfort zone to get back to your own path. Whether you want to call it the path of righteousness, the path of religions, the path of anything, it is not much relevant. Ignorance will always stem out of misery, and misery is the only guide that will force you out of your shell sooner or later. That shell you created because you gave up everything and you embraced others' limitations. It is your own prison. But when people start worshipping that prison, they will impose this worshipping of the prison, of the limitation upon the others. If people turn, let's say, even religion into a misery, they will impose the misery they have made out of that religion upon the others. When they will end up turning anything within a society into a misery or into a business, because in ignorance, a business typically becomes nothing else than an engine of even, well, an engine of furthering misery even more and imposing it upon others. The point is very simple. Everything in ignorance that is born in it, well, it will become an engine that will spread itself even more. And miserable people will end up its police task forces, because every time you want to do something different, you will see that instinctively the miserable people around you, those miserable sops, will do everything to try to pull you down. Maybe your family, unfortunately, maybe your closer friends. Well, it's only a reminder that you need to find a different circle. When we go even further, see, the point of life is you have to experience things. You have to go through certain challenges because this is life. When one has a certain perception and simply distances themselves from the monkey mind, they will also see that they're distancing themselves also from the idea of this so called prison world, because we don't live in a prison world. It may feel like that because there are so many people who united themselves in their misery. And, well, what are they? Nothing else but slaves of their own brain, slaves of their own mind. And what is their mind comprised of? other people's misery, most likely their parents or their peers, who imposed their nonsense upon them. And they, being weak or having been battered by those long enough, they simply gave up because we humans are creatures of comfort. It is much more comfortable to be told what to do than to take responsibility, right? So a lot of these weak people exist. They will coalesce into a miserable blob and they will try to impose the prisons of their mind upon the others. And these prisons of their mind may come in different favors: businesses, politics, religions, whatever. They're all nothing else but contorted and distorted versions of what initially were, let's say, more or less pure ideas.